the October 18th meeting of the Newmarket Town Council. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And begin with a public forum.
Yep.
Thank you. I've never been here before. I stand here.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'm new to town. My name is Roger Barzak, B-A-R-C-Z-A-K. From 32 Honeycomb Drive, Honeycomb Way, Rockingham Green, in Newmarket.
Welcome.
Thank you. I've been here about a year, so I'm really enjoying your town. It's a beautiful little town. And I also am a former selectman of a small town in New Hampshire, so I know what folks go through and do on a regular basis. I have a great appreciation for it. The reason I'm here tonight is my wife and I were going across the 108 bridge between Stratham and Newfields over the river, and we noticed that the lights are off on the bridge. And we said, well, why? Right? Why are they off? Being new to the town, we had no history associated with it. And so I said, well, let me find out. Let me do some investigation and find out why they're off. So I called the DOT, New Hampshire DOT, got a hold of a project engineer. He explained to me that not only those lights, but a lot of other lights around the state had been turned off on bridges about 5 or 6 years ago for a cost-saving measure. And that kind of makes sense. A lot of people were tailoring back then because of obvious reasons with the economy. And I said, okay, well, do you have any plans to turn them back on? No, the state has no plans to turn them back on, to pay for them to turn them back on. So I'm like, all right, well, now what do we do, right? What would be my next step? So I said, okay, well, how about if you could get me a quote or actually let me know the estimated cost per light, and then maybe I can find a creative way to take that around to some of the towns and see if there might be some interest. So the project engineer from the DOT responded to me, gave me a figure of plus or minus $250 per light per year. And I did the math, and there's 10 lights on the bridge, and there's another 4 or 5 lights down on the landing down below. So I said, all right, well, 10 times 250, that's $2,500. I said, let me see, how can we get that financed? You could do it, public-private, you could do it private, there's a number of different ways that you could do it. So I said, let me go around to the 3 towns that converge right in that area. And it's kind of a gateway to Newmarket, obviously to Newfields and to Stratham. So last week I had an appointment with the Newfields Board of Selectmen. They were explaining to them what I was proposing and to determine if there was any interest in pursuing this further based upon those high-level costs. And they said definitely. Not only they were interested, one selectman said, well, maybe we could even fit into this year's budget if we could do some kind of a deal. So I said, okay, great. So I'll let you know. Let me go around to the other 2 towns and I'll get back to you. So Monday night I went to the Stratham Board of Selectmen's meeting. Same thing, explained it to them. There's a little more unique situation because that even though it's off the state highway, that landing down below is technically in Stratham, I believe, and that's dark right now. And dark parking lots are not always safe, right? So there's another aspect of that from the Stratham side. So they were very interested as well. And so I told them, okay, I'm going to try and get on the Newmarket's agenda as soon as possible, but your town council type meetings, it's a public forum. So I'm trying to make a long story short here. And so I'm here tonight to bring this to your attention to see if you would be interested in pursuing discussions with the DOT in a collaborative fashion with the other 2 towns that converge in that area to see if you would be interested in potentially budgeting for those lights to be turned back on. The estimated cost to each town, if it was a 3-way split, would be a little over $800 a piece, and that's just the high-level estimate. The state is going back now because I already cleared it with Newfields and Stratham if they were interested. The state's in the process now of doing additional research to get additional details on cost, whether it's fixed billing now or it's usage-based, the condition of the bulbs, whether they're, more current LED energy efficient bulbs or not. They don't think that they are, so there could potentially be a lot of cost savings associated with that in the future to help bring costs down. So, I guess I'd solicit your feedback at this time, if you choose. I know it's a public forum, you don't have to comment apparently, but if you are interested, I could bring that back to the DOT project engineer. He's already said that the operations director and he would be interested in meeting with the three towns to see what potentially work out a deal and come up with. I'm just acting as a citizen advocate to try to put a deal together, nothing more than that. I can step out at any time, so I'd ask for your consideration.
Thank you for your comments. One question I had, maybe you know, are any of the lights we're talking about in Newmarket?
No.
Yeah. I don't know that this is the forum to have a vote on that or anything. I would just say that, Newmarket has some significant, I appreciate what you're doing and what you're trying to do. I can tell you, we thought when we started the whole process with our dam, as our deficiency on our dam and the work we have to do on the dam, we had lots of people from Durham here that were very interested in, had shorefront property up in Durham, and who wanted us to keep the dam, which for many reasons and not necessarily their advocacy, that's the direction we're heading. But I can tell you that when we said, Durham, you get a lot of tax money from shorefront properties that would be gone if we took the dam out, and that there was no interest in crossing a municipal line to provide funding for what we were otherwise responsible for. So I think to me, that's a bit of a high bar to say that we would be, I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing. I think that LED lighting, provides an opportunity to go with lighting, and we're just spending money to redo our lights in our downtown and throughout our town. So, but I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything, but that's sort of where I come from on that.
I'm going to agree with you. It's Newfields, it's Stratham, and it's a state road, so that's the state to me. And unfortunately, I think it's a great idea, and I appreciate you coming, but.
I appreciate your time. I understand this would be a difficult decision because it is cross-line, and it is a creative solution that would, potentially enhance all three towns because it is a gateway to Newmarket. So I guess I'll go back and I'll pursue it with the two towns, but if I can pursue it that much, because without a three-way split, I think there's a high risk of it not going through at this point. So thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Okay, next up is a public hearing for ordinance number 1, 2017-2018, amendments to Chapter 32 zoning of the Newmarket Municipal Code regarding New Road Skilled Nursing Facility District.
Diane, to explain it first?
Sure.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council. I'm here this evening to present to you recommendations from the Planning Board for some amendments to our zoning ordinance to create a skilled nursing overlay district in the New Road area. Before I delve into the specifics of the proposed zoning, I wanted to give you a little bit of background and to explain the context within which these recommendations are being made. It probably comes to no surprise to you that Newmarket is an aging community. This is a trend that's occurring across New Hampshire communities and dubbed the silver tsunami by demographers and planners. It's a product of baby boomers, which I'm one, shifting into the older age cohorts. Here in Newmarket, between 2000 and 2010, the elderly population here grew by 127%. In a recent update to the master plan, our elderly population emerged as housing for our elderly population emerged as a planning issue. In 2010, the AARP did a survey which despite the notion that our seniors are migrating in droves to southern climates, warmer places in the country, only 3% of that kind of migration is actually occurring annually. In fact, 86% of the survey respondents indicated they wanted to stay in their current residence and age in place for as long as possible. Recent updates to our master plan reflect the need to accommodate this type of specialized housing opportunity for our seniors for the future. Concurrent with this, the planning work that was being done, our Economic Development Committee, of which Gary Levy is here tonight. He is one of the longstanding members of the committee and worked hard for many years with his committee and two consultants, looking at ways on trying to come up with some economic development opportunities here in Newmarket that would be reasonable and doable. And they hired a firm by the name, well, the late Peter Quass, who had actually came forward with the idea of continuing care retirement communities as a fiscally viable way of providing housing opportunities and to allow residents in town to age in place. And the Economic Development Committee embraced that idea. Continuing care retirement community, a CCRC, provides a range or a continuum of housing options for seniors, from independent living, assisted living, to more specialized care, such as skilled nursing and care for memory impaired individuals and patients who have Alzheimer's. And it provides a place for people to age in place, so they can be close to home, close to their friends and family without making major changes later in life. This concept is very popular in locations in the southern part of the country, in Florida, the Sun Belt, in southern areas, Atlanta, Georgia, there's several of them. And we do have a few of these developments here in New Hampshire. Closest is the Riverwoods development in Exeter. We have also a facility in Durham, and Riverwoods, I understand, is building a new facility in Durham shortly. And there's also other facilities in Hanover and Wolfboro that come to mind. As part of the work of the CDC, they hired a second consultant, John Connery, to look at some locations in Newmarket and assess whether or not it would be feasible to locate such a facility here. And they asked Mr. Connery to review the fiscal data for these developments so that we could get an idea of whether or not these facilities would make fiscal sense and economic sense for Newmarket. Mr. Connery concluded that simple age restricted senior housing would generate a positive net impact to the town, which means that such development would generate more in taxes than the costs associated with providing those taxes. Primarily the reason being that these developments do not require educational costs to the community. He also concluded the more specialized facilities that provide skilled nursing and specialized care would even provide a greater return. It would be comparable to that associated with business and office and industrial uses. In August 2015, the EDC had a joint meeting with our planning board and presented a series of recommendations to the planning board. And one of them included the development of a overlay district, a skilled nursing overlay district off of New Road. And to give you a geographic reference here we are down in the southern part of Newmarket. This is the E&M Railroad right away, and this is Route 108 coming up and the old 108. And the properties we're referring to are easterly of the railroad right-of-way and westerly of New Road. And right now, this land is zoned in blue. You see the B1 zone, which is our general business district zoning. And this larger pink area is zone B2, which is also a commercial industrial zone. What we're proposing, or what the planning board is recommending, is that there be an overlay district to that current zoning. So the underlying zoning would still remain as is, but there would be an overlay made up of three districts, three pieces of property, and totaling about 100 acres. And two of those parcels are owned by out of Newmarket. One is the so-called Wilson property, which is roughly 21 acres. And the other property is the so-called Ham property, that includes 39.5 acres. And these properties you see are east of the railroad and west of New Road. The proposal, go back to my notes here. So at the meeting, the Planning Board and the Economic Development Committee had an extensive discussion and explored the concept of overlay zoning in this area. And the idea of it was to provide a low-impact development area that would be limited in size and in scope and would allow skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes, and the more specialized memory care facilities for Alzheimer's and other individuals who have memory impairments. And it was recognized that in this area generally, currently there are some limitations for development. And the town has studied these issues for many years. The Economic Development Committee has studied these issues for many years, and the Planning Board now, it's been going on 2 years as well. But obviously this area has some limitations for large-scale commercial industrial development, and there are reasons for that. And the biggest concern is that there's poor access. And we have, as you probably know, we talked about the town of Newfields earlier. We have a railroad bridge here at the Newfields town line with Newmarket, which is substandard. It is a one-lane bridge, and there's a weight limitation of 6 tons, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a major point where major improvements would be necessary in order to bring it up to grade to be able to utilize this area for any kind of extensive commercial or industrial development. Also, at the intersection at New Road and Route 108, there's some traffic issues that would have to be addressed that would be costly to provide the infrastructure to accommodate and make this area really viable for commercial and industrial development. Also, from a planning perspective, it's poor planning to expect commercial and industrial development to have to go through a quiet, safe, residential area to gain access to an industrial site. So, given the current situations, there's really some problems with the underlying zoning. And I think we all came to terms with that and recognized that at some point there should be some zoning change to the underlying zoning. But for the time being, let's look at providing an opportunity for an assisted overlay district. Also, the topography in this area and the land in this area is such that it's really not conducive to development. There's a lot of steep slopes, there's wetlands, there's a network of streams, very close proximity to Great Bay. Of course, you all know about the issues with nutrient loadings, and how we need to limit those and address those issues. So from an environmental standpoint, there's some major constraints with this land that really preclude it from being good for commercial industrial development. And that's part of the reason why here it's been over 20 years. The land was rezoned in 1998 to commercial business, and really nothing has happened in that area to speak of. We do have some residential uses that have occurred along the road. So I guess it really begs the question is the land appropriately zoned for commercial and business use? On the positive side, I do want to mention that going forward and trying to help spur development in this area, the town owns 2 of the parcels, so it's in an advantageous position in terms of negotiating with a future developer who might be interested in doing a skilled nursing facility. And right now, this land is really, for the most part, idle, vacant, underutilized, and it's not providing any fiscal benefit to the town. So I think there's some good reasons why we need to go forward, at least to try to see if this concept would work for the neighborhood. Our consultant was very clear to us in meeting with us. Mr. Conry had stated that this is not going to be a windfall to the town of Newmarket, but it will help to provide and stabilize the tax base. And it makes more sense than having this area as is. And it will provide some job opportunities, perhaps bring new dollars to the town to help support our retail base. So all in all, it was felt that it would be a win-win for the town to move in this direction. So having said that, I assume you all have a copy of the proposed zoning change. And if you'd like me to just sort of highlight how it's structured. So the proposal is that we would establish this overlay district. It's the area that's crosshatched. I think you all have a copy, smaller version of the map. And within that area, the purpose would be to allow opportunities for nursing homes with skilled nursing facilities and memory care units. And we have some definitions of what those are, and they're based on what the state of New Hampshire definitions are for licensing. But we're talking basically nursing home facilities with skilled nursing, and these are licensed, memory care facilities, and support services, which would include services for the residents, such as providing meals, recreational opportunities, medical and health services, well-being programs, recreation and management services. And we developed some zoning criteria under which these developments would be allowed. And we have a minimum lot size of 20 acres, a road setback of 100 feet, which would sort of nestle the development in the landscape, if you will, out of view of the public. There's a development cap that there would be no more than 75 units of nursing homes and skilled care beds in that area. There would be a 75-foot landscape buffer around the perimeter of the developments, and the parking requirements would be half a space per unit. And the way this would work, if a developer came along who was interested in developing under this provision, they would need to seek a special use permit from the planning board, and it would require a public hearing, notification of abutters, and the planning board would review it according to the criteria in the ordinance. And if it was approved, there would be a development agreement, and the permit would be good for 2 years, and it would be subject to all the site plan review requirements of the town, including doing, maybe requiring an impact analysis on traffic, or what the fiscal benefits would be to the town. So in a nutshell, that is what the proposal is, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And
Council ask questions at their point in time. This is the public hearing.
okay, all right. I just wanted to kind of give you
Yep.
the overview, and hopefully it all comes together and makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, and just, this will be the opening of the public hearing. Just a reminder that any speakers that come up must be residents or property owners. Just state the name and address. A 5-minute limit on time and a single time to speak. And as just pointed out, it's for an opportunity to give input only. So at this point, are there any members of the public who would like to make comments? Please come forward.
Good evening, Gary Levy, 81 New Road. I just came to support this resolution. Diane and the planning board worked for many months on this. So you've got the information in front of you. I would say the reason it has been specified for skilled nursing and Alzheimer's, et cetera, is because of the limitations on the road, and that would create the least amount of traffic. It would also bring the most revenue if someone wanted to come in, because it's more expensive and more viable. The only limitation that I'll just bring to your attention is the road itself. I found a really good consultant that gave us a lot of information, and I have to tell you, it is very complicated. I mean, Diane can tell you what it was like going through the state rules and regulations, but it is all-encompassing. But the food trucks are actually pretty large, and that was my only, just mentioning it to put it on the record. The food trucks are not like a UPS truck. They're like 2.5 times to 3 times the size of a UPS truck. So that would be the only, from my perspective, concern with respect to traffic or how a vehicle of that size would get in. It probably would not be able to go over the bridge. The only other minor limitation, although I think it would be doable, would be an ambulance to go to Exeter, theoretically, or Portsmouth, because they do have, obviously, people that are having to go to the hospital. So if the bridge was out of use for any reason, which, knock on wood, it hasn't happened too often since I've been there, but they'd have to go all the way around. So access is important. And other than that, I think it's a reasonable option for this land. I think everybody knows the history, so I'm not going to go into it. And then the only other thing I'd say is I think subsequent to this, the planning board is going to be looking at 152 to see if there's an opportunity there for something. And just for the record, I think they're building, Chinburg is converting the old industrial park in Durham to this use, and Steve knows about it and whatnot. And I think Riverwoods is doing somewhere around 400 to 500 more units. So there's going to be, the challenges in this industry, just for the record, and Amy knows about it, and I think most people here have heard, they can't get skilled help. So it's tough because it's very encompassing to take care of these people. But anyway, if there's any questions, I figured I'd stay here in case. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for all of the work you've put in over the years on this. Yeah, I know it's been a long time.
Thank you, and I really, honestly, I have to say the planning board, the subcommittee meeting we had with Diane and the planning board was excellent. I mean, they took a lot of input. It may be one of the most complicated issues I've ever had to be involved in, and I've had some doozies, but this was very lengthy, and Diane did a really good job navigating through it all. So, thank you.
Thank you. At this point, seeing no other members of the public coming forward, we close the public hearing and move on. I would like to accept a motion to approve the October 4 regular meeting minutes, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the October 4th regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Are there any corrections? If not, let's call the roll.
Counselor Burns.
Aye.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Thompson.
Aye.
Counselor Cast.
Aye.
Counselor Bowden. Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Counselor Pike.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
I'd like a motion to approve the October 4 non-public meeting minutes, please.
Make a motion to approve the October 4th non-public meeting minutes.
So moved. Second. Second. Whatever.
Any corrections? Seeing none, call the roll.
Counselor Burns.
Aye.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Thompson.
Aye.
Counselor Cast.
Aye.
Counselor Bowden.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Counselor Pike.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Please call the roll. Please, Town Administrator report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In my unwritten report, I'm happy to announce that at 4 o'clock this afternoon, I was notified that we did receive the CDFA grant for replacement of all the lights in town and downtown with LED lighting. It was a $43,300 low-interest loan, which will be paid back through the savings that we make from the electrical savings. So I contacted the contractor, and we should begin that later on in this ending of this calendar year, beginning of the next. On my written report, the town and school issued requests for qualifications for energy performance contracts for all of the facilities combined throughout the town. Energy performance contracting is a financing technique that uses the cost savings from reduced energy consumption to repay the cost of installing energy conservation measures. This innovative financing technique allows building users to achieve energy savings without upfront capital expenses. The cost of the energy improvements are borne by the performance contractor and paid back out of the energy savings. Usually funding is done in the form of a municipal lease purchase agreement with the payments matching the savings. Municipalities around here have begun doing that, or the cities of Portsmouth, Dover, a lot of the SAUs have begun doing it, just because it's a way to finance a lot of the energy projects that we need to do. For example, if we needed to replace the boiler systems or the heating systems, we would do this, and we'd take the savings and pay back the the cost to make the replacement. We are currently reviewing proposals now. The school board does have a member on the committee, so I did want to offer, if any council would like to serve, let me know. And again, any proposal would actually be coming before the council for ultimate approval. So if you want to serve and review, let me know and we can go from there.
Do you have a sort of a timeline in terms of how soon you'd like to hear from somebody?
Yeah, if you could let me know within a week or so, just send me an email. And, because we're going to be meeting, I believe, the first week in November, again, to look at them. So what we'll do is get you a copy and you can comment or go from there.
Okay.
Could you move the pedestal? Okay. Yep. That's okay. So, pursuant to Section 5.2 of the Newmarket Town Charter, I have respectfully submitted to the Town of Newmarket Town Council my proposed operating budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2008. And here's the proposal, the presentation I will be going through. The first slide. What I usually go through for the new councils is some of the economic indicators that we're seeing in the area. The number one thing that people tend to look at is what is the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, for the current year. And what the Consumer Price Index measures the changes in price level of consumer goods and services purchased by households. This includes fuel, food, housing, and clothing. In July 2016, the CPI national was increased by 0.8%. This year, it increased by 1.7%. Northeast increased 0.8% in 16, 1.6% in the Northeast. And the one that we tend to look at the most is Boston, because we're part of that market. It was a 1.5% increase last year, and it was a 2.2% increase this year. So that shows that consumer goods are going up, and so the cost of doing business is going up as well. The next is unemployment rates. As you can see on this chart, last year the national unemployment rate was 5.1%. That's dropped to 4.1% July to July. The state was at 2.9. That's dropped to 2.5. The county was at 3. That dropped to 2.7. The Portsmouth Metro, which we're part of, remained the same at 2.5. And Newmarket went from 2.4 to 1.9. And 1.9 is actually negligible. That means that's just a blip that there could have been a few people out of work at that point in time because of temporary situations, so that's actually negligible. The next one is our estimated current tax rate. We're estimating the current tax rate would be set at $26.64. We will not know that for the next couple weeks. We're finally getting all our paperwork in, and we have to be approved by DRA before we do this. As you can see by the chart, 73% of the tax dollars goes to funding schools and goes to education. It was 63% raised by the local portion and 9% reimbursed by the state school tax. It's a misnomer saying that there's a state school tax. It's not as though we send the money to Concord and they send the money back. We collect it. It stays here. It's just what they call the state school tax that we all must raise. The next is 4% goes to fund the county, or $1.13, and the town budget equals 23% of the entire tax rate. The next chart is just a five-year comparison of where we are. The top is the school. It went from $15.02 to $16 to $15.41 to $15.72 to $17.08 in the last 5 years. The town is the next line down. It's remained pretty flat. 607, 622, 602, 624, and 617. And the other two have also remained pretty flat. And one of the most important numbers that we have right now is what's the assessed value of the town. What the way that you look at this is for every dollar that we raise in the tax rate, we raise $749,828. In 2013, that was right before our last reval. Our assessed value was at $744,537,983. That was when the housing market was the bubble was coming to fruition, And it burst the next year when we had the reval, and we went from 744 million to 711 million dollars. The next year we went up to 722 million, 731, and now we're estimating at 749. I can actually say that the assessors got us a final figure today, and it's close to this, about $1 million higher than that. It's about $750 million for our assessed value. That's due to the market, due to the new developments that we have online, and that just has to be finalized and approved by the State Department of Revenue Administration. So that will fluctuate this number slightly, but not a lot. So the next one. The town administrator I am proposing the following for a bottom line budget. Last year, we had approved a $9 million, in fiscal year 17, we had a $9,996,942 budget. Current year, we have $11.5 million budget. The department's proposed a $12.7 million budget, and I'm proposing $11,859,931, or 2.98% increase. It's an increase of $343,000. There is a $52,768 decrease in enterprise funds, and all other funds is seeing a $395,901 increase. The next chart is just an example of by funds. I'm proposing $7,437,407 for the general fund, $1,155,086 for the special revenue funds, and $3,267,438 for the enterprise funds. The difference between those funds are the general fund is raised through taxation and other revenues. Special revenue funds are the recreation fund and the solid waste fund, which are allowed to keep their revenues generated from programming and sale of bags to offset their costs. There is some subsidies in the solid waste, and it also includes the library, since the town just provides the library funding through a grant, basically. And enterprise funds are the water and sewer, where all monies are raised through the rates. The next is just a 3-year comparison of where we were, just to give a little graphic example. And the next one is, where is the increase going? $54,000 increases for the new financial software lease. $27,130 is software maintenance for this 1 year. It will be transferring over of using 2 systems, and they're estimating that this will be the cost. There's $45,000 in sidewalk construction. There's a $75,000 increase in buildings and grounds, and this is a new operational repairs line. It was discussed previously by the buildings and grounds, the facilities director with the council. The next is the $19,000 in the solid waste contract that the council approved, and $38,000 in the recycling contract. The next is the contribution to capital reserve funds. This is a large item that everyone seems to be discussing as of late. What you see is what the current level of the fund is, where it says on September 1st, 2017. A contribution for the capital reserve public works, the department had proposed $156,831. I'm recommending $100,000. Building improvements asked for $460,550. I recommend $100,000. Roadway improvement, recommended $135,000. I agreed with $135,000. Stormwater management requested $100,000. I cut it to $50,000. And McAllen Dam was $50,000. I left it at $50,000. Fire and rescue, they requested $261,407. I cut that to $50,000 contribution. Police vehicles, they requested $52,000. I suggested $26,000. Police dispatch, they requested $23,466. I reduced it to $10,000. On the next one is Veterans Memorial, they requested $2,000. I agreed and left it at $2,000. Master plan, $10,000. It was staying at $10,000. There's a $2,000 for the 300th anniversary expendable trust that was just missed in the original proposal. That's in 2017 will be our 300th anniversary, so we decided to start putting money aside for the celebration. The library is requesting $10,400 for their contribution to their capital reserve fund. I agreed, and recreation is $15,000, and I agreed with that. So the difference is, again, they requested $1,276,654 in capital reserve contributions. I requested $560,400. They had a 129.98% increase. I had a 0.95. This does not mean that projects aren't going to get done. And this is the next slide I want to show everybody. I am going to recommend in the coming year, and this is not part of the budget process, but part of the process that we do throughout the year, that we withdraw $146,000 to buy a dump truck, $160,000 to buy a sweeper. There's $306,000 to offset from that capital reserve fund. Facilities, we can do $15,200 for a security upgrade to continue on, $21,500 to upgrade the Tiger Hose Company. I am cutting the repointing of the brick this year. Facade work, $38,600, and town hall furnaces as of right now is $89,750, and that would be $165,050 worth of repairs being done this coming year. What I always hear, and I'm going to take a little break right here, just catch my breath, but this is where I always get vilified as the town administrator, because they always say I cut all these projects. We don't cut the projects. We cut the contribution to capital reserve funds. The projects can still be done. I just want to make sure we're withdrawing from the capital reserve funds to do these projects. Fire radios need to replace. I'm recommending this year we withdraw $45,000 to do that. Police, this is police cruisers are $45,000. We have $226,000 in that account. We could buy cruisers for the next 5 years, not including the revolving fund that we use for details to buy it as well for the next 5 years without even touching it. I'm still saying we could add some in there to make sure we are refunding that. And the fire-based radio is $20,000. So I'm recommending $1,052,100 in capital projects this coming year. We will be doing that. And it actually may change as well if we do the energy contract. The furnace may be withdrawn from this. So we'll be doing it through that. But these are the ones as of right now I am recommending. I just want to make that clear to everybody what the difference between the contribution to the capital reserve fund from capital projects. The next slide is the revenue. Everybody tends to think about the expenses and forgets about the revenue. Last year, our estimated revenues is $7,072,204. I'm estimating our revenues in the coming year at $7,177,656. A slight increase, or $1 million increase. $100,000 increase. It's mainly through motor vehicle registrations. We are seeing an uptick there. We're seeing an uptick in some of our interests on investments, not a lot. And we're seeing building permits and some other revenues that are coming in. So we're being conservative there. We always try to be conservative there, but I do think we could raise some revenue estimates there. There's my big warning slide. This next slide is an estimate using only data that as we have of today. What's the estimated tax impact? So the way you determine the tax rate, you take the gross appropriations of $11,859,931, subtract the revenues of $7,177,656. I always put the shared revenues because that's what the state was promises us but never gives us any longer, so I like to keep that blank line in there so we know they don't give it to us. I add the overlay, this is where we take abatements from. We have a certain amount of money separate from fund balance that we use, and that's $20,000. I add the war service credits, which is all the veterans exemptions, and that's $160,000. And then, so the net town appropriation is $4,862,275. Divide that by $749,828,081, and multiply that by 1,000, and you come to a tax rate of $6.48. This was an increase over the $6.17 of the previous year. The tax impact, if this were to budget were to pass as is, the average home value right now in town is $280,000. The current town portion of the tax bill is $1,727 annually. The proposed would be $1,814 annually, or an increase of $87 annually. That is my proposal. The council will be meeting on October 28th in workshop session beginning at 9 a.m. to review this, and we can get into it more then. That's all I have tonight, Mr. Chair.
Okay. As he said, October 28th is when the discussion on this will begin. Committee reports. Do we have any committee reports?
A short one.
Okay, go for it.
So at the last planning board meeting, there was one interesting topic that I thought, we had a presentation from Stratford Regional Planning about the Coastal Risk and Hazards Commission's report. And, you know, it was a presentation, but, and I probably should have asked this ahead of time, but I thought that maybe, I was wondering if that would be beneficial for the council to hear that type of presentation. Because I thought it was really good as far as just the water and the, you know, the rise and the sea level and all that kind of information with some different things that are going on, you know, and other aspects. So I don't know if that's something that we could hear here, but it was pretty interesting. So, anyway.
Councilor Finch.
Conservation Commission met on October 12th, last Thursday. Relatively brief meeting, but we did focus on getting the signs, kind of finalize the wording for the Picassac Loisel property. And we kind of discussed some surveying of different properties that comes up every year or two, so that's going to be in the works. The other thing we did do is we appointed an alternate. We were short a couple of members for the Energy and Environment Committee, and that alternate is going to be Jeff Goldnoff, and we will appoint a full-time member when we can.
So I had a couple of meetings that I attended. One was the Dam Committee meeting, and that is, we actually saw some numbers for some of the proposals that have been out there, and I think at first meeting in December, we're having the public hearing on the public presentation from the engineering firm. So we are starting to see numbers. We're starting to see proposals. I think for whatever reason, you were good with it because the numbers that we heard were in line with what the town administrator has been saying for some time. I would say that the primary thing we went into, I think when we had the first presentation from GZA, we were hoping not to touch the gates, and which is still an option to leave the. I mean, we're mandated by the letter to do repairs around the gate area. There are areas that have deteriorated, so we would have to do something there. And what a lot of the focus would be what would be the abutment wall, the configuration of the abutment wall around on the side of the dam towards town, the Durham Book Exchange side of the. And I think as we heard the initial presentations, that sort of was more of an interest with something, and it came out at the first meeting when the engineer from the dam state DES was there. I think I had the wrong acronym, but State Dam Bureau. Anyways, when we had that, it turns out that we could still not do stability analysis on the spillway and make modifications to the gateway, to the gates. So I think what started, you'll hear more about this when the engineers, but we shifted when we were sort of polling each other as to which one we thought might be perhaps the best way to go for the town. And I know my opinion shifted on this. I was thinking, well, let's do the least we can. But we heard from Rick that in addition to the repairs we have to make on that were mandated by the letter, those are old gates. So, and if we replace the gates at this time, then we buy some some aesthetics and some function, because we won't have to build the wall so high, so that the area could be improved in that way. It would still be more expensive, but you would have substantially rebuilt it versus putting a lot of money into the area, but still having very old gates that are described as, Rick was pretty graphic in describing them as being quite shaky when they need to operate them. So I think that's going to be the nature of when we have our public meeting as to what's the wisest for the long term. Trying to nurse those gates along, or really doing a more substantial refurbishment of the dam area for the long area, if we're, and I'll just remind everybody, going back when we had public hearings about the dam, and the study of, when I first joined council 4 or 5 years ago, it was about, the study money we had was to remove the dam, and we heard an awful lot of public support for keeping the dam. Plus, there were costs that we never got final costs, but there are costs that would have been hard to estimate in terms of measuring, how much hazardous waste there was in some of the sediments, and the fact that we would have to remove those sediments before we remove the dam, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of where we are on the dam. I think, as we said, a public presentation of the data is to come. And the other thing I'd mention that's out there is I attended, was it last week when we had the county meeting on 10-year road plan?
A state meeting, state DOT.
State DOT. I went to that meeting just to sort of see, and it was in Newmarket. So they did talk about replacing the bridge down that are in Newfields, but we're very close to us. That was just talking about right? That was that was on their plan. And the other thing that struck me, and it's just sort of something for Newmarket to think about, is I think we should be thinking in terms of the state roads that are in our town. And I think once the road 108 between here and Durham gets completed, it will really stand out how narrow, how utilized, how much more traffic, and how much bike traffic there is on 108 between Newmarket and Newfields. And the bridge, which was a major issue when we talked about the whole bike path discussion, if that's getting fixed, I think one of the things is what would we have to do as a town to advocate for improvements to 108. What struck me is that there were a bunch of people here from Stratham, and they were really lobbying for the Bunker Hill to want a traffic light there. And I mean, they really got out for that, and they've been working at it a long time. So I don't know if that's really that effective, but I think that we'll have interest in seeing 108 modernized at some point in the future. So that's.
I have a quick.
Sure. Go ahead.
So it's not a committee report as of yet, but I did want to just update the council that the Energy and Environment Committee is now, we've appointed all of our at-large members and have representation from now the council, an alternate from conservation, and someone from planning. So our first meeting is scheduled for the 6th of November at 7 o'clock. And I mean, that's really at this point just we'll elect a chair and start to talk about whatever process or plans that we have to move forward. So we'll get that conversation started and then move on from there. And I will keep the council updated.
Thank you very much. I'm just trying to, what page am I going to?
Mr. Chair, can I ask for a favor and take a portion of the agenda out of order, because I have to get a staff member for one of them, and take the ordinance now,
Sure.
which is at the beginning of your packet.
Okay. Do I read that in title only?
Yep.
Okay, this is ordinance number 1, 2017-2018, amendments to Chapter 32 zoning of the Newmarket Municipal Code regarding New Road Skilled Nursing Facility District. And accept a motion to approve such ordinance, please.
So moved.
Any comments or?
Second.
A second, sorry.
Second.
Okay. I do have a quick one. I need to
Sure.
ask for an amendment. We did receive a comment from the town attorney, and there is one issue in the ordinance he's asking to be stricken. It's in paragraph 2, section 32-162, section F, subparagraph 1, which reads, project plans need to be submitted to the state residential care and health facility licensing for approval prior to the submission of plans for the state site review, for site review, plan of review approval. His explanation is that this is not legal. You can't ask them to receive approval from the state prior to having them submit for a site plan review. So he's just asking for that line to be stricken. So I'd ask the council, if they don't have an issue, to make a motion to strike paragraph 2, section 32-162, skilled nursing facility district, section F, subparagraph 1, the sentence that reads, project plans need to be submitted to the state of New Hampshire residential care and health facility licensing for approval prior to the submission of plans for the site plan approval.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll on that.
Counselor Burns.
Aye.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Thompson.
Aye.
Counselor Cass.
Aye.
Counselor Bowden.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Counselor Pike.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. So do I have any comments about the ordinance itself? Councilor Weinstein.
I just had a couple comments, and first, I'm so grateful to the amount of work that's been done for the past several years, really, from the Economic Development Committee and from the Planning Board. And we've talked about this for quite a while, so it's nice to see it come to fruition. So I wanted to make that comment. My only comment about the ordinance itself, I mean, obviously I see the benefit to Newmarket. I just want to talk a little bit about balance, because while I understand that that New Hampshire is aging and the silver tsunami and and all of that, and that's a real concern. It's an issue for our community and for our state, but at the same time, I just hope that we balance our opportunities for young people and for increasing increasing the opportunities in our downtown and making it a vibrant place to work and to live, and making sure that we have affordable housing for people, because as was mentioned, labor is an issue, and when our unemployment rate is 1.9%, and the finding skilled nursing, finding bus drivers, this is an issue throughout the area. So making sure that we can continue to staff and support this kind of a facility is really important. And I think it's important for the health of our community in general. So I just wanted to take a minute to say that, and other than that, I have no other comments.
Councilor Burns.
Yeah, so I too know a lot of work has gone into this, and being representative of the planning board, I see a lot of that work, when we go to the meetings and everything like that. So I am going to stay aligned with, approving this, but I have some concerns that I did want possibly to talk about, and, just to make sure that they're out there. So is it all right if I ask Gary, Mr. Levy, to come up for a second?
If there's no objection to council, that's the council rules.
Right.
Okay, that'd be great.
So
If he doesn't mind.
if you don't mind.
Thank you.
No, because there were some things that, at the meeting you came to, there were some really valid points that you brought up. You'd done some research, and I wanted to make sure I got them all right, because you were here and you were the one that did the research. So the first thing that is concerning is the bridge right, is because with the food trucks, there's a certain amount of tonnage that would have to go over if a facility like this was, yeah, the access. And otherwise, they'd have to come all the way around. So that's one concern. Another concern was, with the building itself, you had called, I believe you had called around to some different facilities in the area and was with the getting the skill level of nursing to, be employed by this type of facility. And it's really apparently very difficult to find.
Yeah, all the facilities are having trouble staffing from the most basic assisted all the way up. I mean, there's been articles in the papers regarding how difficult it is to get people to show up and all that other stuff. But, I think 75 units is not a really tiny facility. Some of them are as small as 30, 40 up in toward the Wolfboro area. But I think if someone, sees the financial opportunity, the land is there. I think a lot of this has to do with, to be very candid, if the town didn't own 39 acres and another, I don't know what the ham was, but just call it, 50, 60 acres, I'm not sure this would be something the town would focus on. Let's put it that way. I'm trying to be as kind and diplomatic as possible.
Yeah.
However, the fact of the matter is, it's been sitting dormant, this property, as well as the property owned by Shearwater Investment, since the 80s, and there's been no development. So, do I think it could be successful? Meaning, could someone come in there and do something viable? I think the traffic would be reasonably low because you wouldn't be having a lot of people driving, coming and going, because the skilled nursing requires basically people to be aging. Mm-hmm. And they need the help. It's not like people are going to be getting in their car and driving around. From that standpoint, I think it's a benefit to the town. I know there's a lot of Alzheimer's, different levels of Alzheimer's and care that's necessary for people today. When you were saying aging in place, I feel like I'm aging in place right now, frankly. But those are the issues of the road.
Mm-hmm.
When you mentioned the bridge, I didn't know if you were talking about they were going to, spend $3 or $4 million to upgrade that bridge or whatever it is, but it's just the logistics of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose if you said, is this a place that people could be comfortable and enjoy being? It's a very nice feel. That there's walking trails that would be available and things of that nature for people that could take advantage of them. But there isn't a whole lot of uses right now. I mean, Steve would know as well as anybody. I mean, I've been dealing with this issue since the early 2000s. So, the food truck I brought up because I think it's important to know that you might have a few people, not the council per se, but the planning board might have a few people showing up going, how big is, what kind of traffic? And they'd obviously have to do a traffic study.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to, net it all out, I think 152 will potentially be an appropriate area, that people could use as well, because that's also been designated as an area that could, contain or hold a product like this. But I don't know what else you can really do there. I mean, there's no industry that's going to be moving in there. That I can tell you, at least not in the short run.
Well, that was a lot of the discussion with the planning board as well, and why they proposed this. My other kind of concern is that if other communities are building these types of facilities and we have a contractor come in and build one, is there a risk that, there wouldn't be people available to work there, and what would happen if we had an empty building eventually down the road, if it didn't come to fruition?
We wouldn't own it, and we wouldn't
no, we wouldn't as a town own it, but, you know, we don't want apartments there and that kind of thing, so,
Yeah,
I don't
not
know.
that- Not that it's my place, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, anybody that's gonna, and that's why, you know, I thought that the planning board went through a good exercise.
They did.
The skilled nursing and the Alzheimer's is gonna bring the most revenue to the town. It is the most investment, so anybody coming in to do this will have done their due diligence and their homework. They're not gonna build it if they don't see a need, and if they can't fill it, and if they can't staff it. And that really, at the end of the day, could be said for any building in town. You know, any business here has to put together, you know, a business plan, but the good thing is that type of facility couldn't just be flipped to a bunch of rental units. And I think that's, you know, something that frankly concerned a lot of people that I spoke to. They didn't want to, you know, if you would make an investment for skilled nursing and all that entails, you've got a serious investor, you've got a company that wants to build this. And, you know, I think that's the fastest growing part of that whole industry is skilled nursing and Alzheimer's, unfortunately. But, anyway.
I just want to ask Diane to point this out on the map. Everyone brings up the bridge over the railroad.
Yes.
Where exactly is it?
The bridge is right at the town line.
So we do not own the bridge.
No, it's in Newfields.
Correct.
So we, at the end of the day,
Rorel.
yeah, it's not our.
But the
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
what Amy's saying is.
But it affects the-
Yeah,
Right.
like as soon as you get it, for anybody that's not acquainted with this, and God knows I'm acquainted. Diane is acquainted. As soon as you get over that bridge, you are in Newmarket.
Oh, yeah, we paved it, it's
And
right
then
there.
and then for anybody that's ever, I know Dale rides his bike there and whatnot, but the first house on the left is Mr. Johnson's house, and then the town has the Wilson Farm, which the town owns, and that's probably where you bring the access in, I'm guessing. Steve would. you
Yeah,
know,
that's the only road access we actually have.
Yeah, so, but I mean, if there's any product out, you know, I think the goal of the EDC and the planning board was to look for opportunities for the town. They found two areas that made some sense. If someone's gonna do the due diligence to build something like this, and they damn well better, you know, they're gonna be making a big investment, it's gonna be in the millions, wherever they put it. So, anyway.
Right.
I don't know if there's anything else I can say.
Well, my sense is there's really no opposition here. We'll find out, but I haven't heard any opposition. I think we won't know if there's a developer out there that will
Right.
do this until we try. But we certainly are interested in, you know, for anybody that might be listening, we're certainly interested in working with them. We've have an interest in making these kind of uses work, and we think Newmarket has a lot to offer. You know, has some challenges, but has a lot to offer in that regards, so.
Yeah, the town has really a couple of options. They can either sell the land, which, you know, Steve is well aware of, or they can, you know, go this route. They've had it zoned. This was an opportunity to see if we could get something else in there at the time. And you know, nobody was averse to it. There's certainly no downside
Right.
to it.
Right.
Because nothing's happening now. It's just growing weeds.
Well, right, and that's true, that's why the planning board unanimously voted it through, so.
Yeah. So.
Council Weinstein?
Maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse with this particular question, but if, assuming this passes, and this might be a question for the town administrator, where do we go from, like, what are the next steps for the town? I mean, it's currently it's not being marketed at
It's
the
not.
moment.
Any
So.
discussion would be in non-public as under the sales of land.
For specific sales, but I guess I'm wondering what the town will do to market the.
I need to know what what the council is gonna do. I can't market something that, right.
Right, no, I mean, that's what I'm saying, obviously, assuming this passes, then, okay, cart is before the horse. I'll ask you later.
Councilor Bowden?
I guess question is, if there was someone that was interested in developing property as a skilled facility, how many potential jobs could that bring?
Don't know.
You could do a survey of existing facilities in the area and just ask them what their numbers are. We have not done that as part of this analysis.
Okay.
It'd be pretty substantial when you consider all the shifts. It would be a fair number of people.
What do you say, there's 40 or 37, 40 people?
I don't know.
I-
It's
I-
not a medical.
I don't know,
I'm
but
just trying to figure out how you get the amount of parking spaces.
I'm assuming it was the visitors, employees, because
And
the.
staff.
and it's-
Point-
right,
And that was a
0.5.
figure that John Connery had
Right.
provided to us.
Because the patients wouldn't be don't have vehicles in this
Yeah.
situation.
I wouldn't think so.
I think you've got enough land
Yeah.
in there to accommodate
Yeah.
parking. If you go to Edgewood, I don't think it's sitting on that many acres.
No.
at all. And just one thing, I don't think this is so much about jobs for Newmarket, just as a thought. I think this is about revenue that can come into the town from a facility that will help the tax base, just as a thought, because I think that was the driver of this one.
yeah. Yeah. I think we can call the roll.
What about the jobs?
Counselor Burns.
Aye.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Thompson.
Aye.
Counselor Cast.
Aye.
Counselor Bowden.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Counselor Pike.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I hope I don't need this for a while.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So back to the resolution. Yeah.
16.
Okay. Do I need to?
Just title only.
Resolution 2017-18-16, resolution authorizing the town administrator to enter into a contract with educational building consultants for town hall office improvements. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2017-2018-16, authorizing the town administrator to enter into a contract with educational building consultants for town hall office improvements.
Second?
No. Just kick it off.
Okay.
The Director of Facilities is here as well. We've been having some space and security and ADA issues on this floor. And coincidentally, as we mentioned in the past, that the school department is doing their renovations at this point in time, and I asked to look at ours at the same time. What this will do, it would be one, it'll install an ADA accessible countertop in the town clerk's office, which is needed. It will provide additional office space in the town administrator's office, which is needed, because at this point in time, I cannot have a meeting probably with more than 3 people in my office. It will provide storage, block storage for files, and it will actually reduce the size of the assessor's office, which is fine, because the assessor's office, which was originally the finance director's office, is not utilized as much. Another part of that, on that side of the floor, it will eliminate the need to enter from one office by going through another office. Currently, to enter into the town clerk's office, I have to, from my office, I have to go through the assessor's office. That'll eliminate that and have one entranceway. Also in the town administrator's office, they will be adding a counter and removing the window that people go to now. Basically, the door that is in the office that customers go to is a window that was removed from an old school door. And they just have a sort of a Dutch door there. Now they'll have an actual countertop that they can work on and provide assistance. On the other side of the hall, they will be moving the door closer to council chambers, which would allow the installation of a countertop there for security. Because currently, if somebody goes in, they can just walk right into anybody's office. And just with the nature of the 2 offices in there, that we just did not think that was the best idea for a building inspector or the planner. So there'll be a countertop, people can lay out things, they can look at plans, and it'll also give more space to work in. I asked for an estimate. The estimates from the consultant, educational consultant, came at $11,350. You did receive the estimate from Daniels, which was at $1,650, and pending anything that they find in the walls, because as you know, as we said, they found some stuff upstairs that they had to address, and we're trying to make sure that that's part of this agreement as well. That is all I have. If questions of the Director of Facilities or anything else, we can go from there.
Council Thompson.
I didn't see the Daniels estimate in the packet.
We received it after, and I emailed it this week.
Okay.
Yeah, I emailed it on.
Copy of it right here if you'd like.
Just double check.
Monday?
Yeah, it was Monday.
Newmarket Town Hall Electrical is the title of the
Yep.
email.
Because it came in after the packet.
Any other comments? Going, call the roll, I guess. What, I'm sorry, sir. Did you have? No. I was waiting for one. All right, call the roll, please.
He pressed his button.
Counselor Byrne.
Aye.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Oh,
I-
okay.
Oh, it did, okay, Council.
1650 from Daniels Electric, sorry about that. That was the only quote that came in, again, correct?
Yes, and that's also the current electrical contractor we use for the town facilities already, and he's already doing the job upstairs
Okay.
in the school department, and we'll also be doing the job for the dais here.
That's for 1 day.
Yeah, we're not doing it, there's not a lot of electrical work unless we find something that's hidden inside the walls. We hope not. We didn't expect to find live knob tube upstairs either, so.
Okay.
Council Thompson?
But you did solicit a bid from them, right?
Daniels Electric?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just gave you a copy of it.
Right, and I appreciate that. I find it interesting that it came in exactly the same as your in-house estimate.
Mhm.
So,
The one
that
he
was
did for the-
remarkably on track by you, unless perhaps they knew what the number was?
We already met together and talked about it, and that's how we came up to the number. And the interesting part is I also got one for the dais, and that actually came out $200 less than I estimated.
Okay, thank you.
Call the roll?
Counselor Burns.
Aye.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Thompson.
Aye.
Counselor Cast.
Aye.
Counselor Bowden.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Counselor Pike.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Back to the other meeting.
All right, there are no nominations or appointments. So the one in the first reading is the budget, which, as we just said, will be, is it October 29th? That we'll be going over. Any correspondence to the town council? 28th, that was, actually. Any closing comments by councilors?
I'm not a counselor, but I forgot to say something during my report.
You can jump in anytime you want, don't feel
But
bad.
it's a positive one. On positive for the people, our crew, not positive for the individuals who went through this. On Friday evening, on the way back from a wedding, I received a text from the police chief that there was a 2-alarm fire on Bass Road in the condominium complex. And well, they slowly progressed towards town. It turned into a 3-alarm. And so I went to the scene. And when I got there, it was a 4-alarm fire. I want to thank the police department, our fire department, and the surrounding communities who came to help those individuals. And I would also reach out to any individuals who need any help. Please let us know. We have social agencies that can help those who were displaced. I know that their property management company is working with them as well, because I talked with them when I was on scene that evening. So I just wanted to commend the other communities as well as ours for the work they did that evening.
Council Burns?
Just a question. So the next planning board meeting, both myself and Councilor Cast are going to be out of town for work. So I didn't know.
Look at the law. I don't think it provides for a third alternate.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah, it's only two. So
Okay.
there's just no counselor.
Okay, all right.
Council Cast?
Same question.
Recovered.
Council Bowden?
Different question. In the, of course, my computer dies. Page 52, I believe it was, there's an IT report.
Yep.
It speaks to the cable, Channel 13, and being a major expense.
Yeah, we'll have to make an
coming up.
investment soon.
So what will that investment consist of?
What they're looking at is basically replacing the system that is downstairs currently. That is the original system from the mid-90s. So, one, it's out of date with today's technology. So they're getting proposals on what they need to replace. A lot of it would be the racks, I can't remember all the technical terms, but it's all the broadcasting equipment that's down there. The good thing is we have money that we're sitting on from franchise fees and cable capital reserve funds that would cover the cost.
INET?
I'm sorry?
INET?
The INET is part of that. That's half cable, half technology. That came out in the 90s when the internet began, and everybody was going to have internal networks and wire every building. Well, wireless came around, so they don't need to do that. So that's sitting there. Plus, we do have the cable franchise fees that automatically go in there for equipment.
Council Weinstein?
We all set?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a couple things. I wanted to remind any counselors who might be interested that this coming Sunday, which is the 22nd, is, at our last meeting, Monica came and talked about the rights-based ordinance. So that's on Sunday at 11 o'clock at the Stone Church for anyone who's interested. There's also at the Sunrise Sunset Center on Saturday, there's a craft fair. I believe it starts at 8 o'clock. And there's going to be many vendors, and it's going to be just a nice event, nice community event, and a chance for people to do a little pre-holiday shopping. I did receive an email. I think it went to everyone, so that was my second item. I think that this email went to everyone, but I did just want to mention it publicly that a resident wrote to with a concern about lighting near the recreation center, which I know
We're looking into.
forwarded it to the facilities director, but I just wanted to comment about that. It's nice when we get correspondence. I mean, I don't know how anyone else feels, but I'm always happy when we get correspondence from the community or when people come and give public comment. So I just wanted to validate that. And then the last thing that I have is I read an article about the Keno in Manchester and the process that they're going through, and it was in the Union Leader, and it mentioned a public hearing, and that's part of the process. So do we have one scheduled?
Yeah, it would be February. It has to be within so many days of the vote.
Would it make sense to do it at the deliberative session, or is that not allowed because it's not monetary?
It's not close enough.
It's not close enough to the
Right.
vote.
The dates they put on it is
More for municipality or for
it's
municipal
either
elections.
for cities or for
Yeah.
traditional town meeting,
Okay.
not for SB2.
Okay, so we'll have to have would it happen at one of our meetings
February
typically?
21st, I have it on the.
Okay, oh, it's
already in my
scheduled.
mind when it's gonna
Okay.
be, yeah.
Okay, great, thank
I
you.
made sure I had it in my reminder thing.
Council Bowden?
Yeah, it's real quick. Just wanted to remind people, or make people aware that hunting season is upon us, and people go into the woods, walking the dogs, and doing, whether it's riding the bikes, jogging, what have you, but make sure to wear blaze orange for your safety and your animals. It's very rare that incidents happen, but can't be too safe. Also, just wanted to wish the wee bowlers in the Sunrise Center good luck competing on their national tournament next several weeks. So,
Wow.
Just, because you brought up the Keno here, but at the end, at some point, there was a conversation with at least a couple of people about what the process would be if we wanted to change our vote about that, because we did.
Oh, fine.
You- Yeah, well, what would it take to do that if the council wants?
Counselor in the winning sides, or in the majority, would have to make a motion reconsideration. The council then would vote to reconsider. If that passes, the council then needs to vote again on the ordinance, yea or nay.
Okay. So would it be out of order at this point for somebody to do that, or is that something that could be done the next time?
You can do it next meeting, you can do it.
I'll do it now.
You can do it now, but if you want it, you also have a non-public session.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it would take very long. I mean, if somebody wants to do that,
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider the vote on
Does anybody
Keno.
have the minutes? You were in the majority, right?
Correct.
Okay.
he was.
I just wanted to make sure, that is all.
Does there need to be a second?
There
on-
needs to be a second.
Second? Oh, sorry.
And the second didn't have to be somebody that was
No.
in the majority, okay. I don't feel like we need to talk about it unless somebody has a comment, we can.
And this is just to reconsider, and then you're reconsidering that original resolution. Right.
Okay.
So, call the roll, please.
Counselor Burns.
Aye.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Thompson.
Aye.
Counselor Cast.
This is just to.
Just to talk about.
All you're doing is, if this passes, you're gonna vote again on that resolution.
She's confused.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
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 What was the resolution number? Because you should read it again, just for the record.
The resolution number. Would that be in the minutes?
Yeah.
I have the minutes here. Just won't, sometimes it will give me that little thing at the bottom, and sometimes it won't.
Because that wasn't from our last meeting, that was from 2 meetings ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on.
Oh, keep me offline again. Let me see if I can find it.
Let's see, let me try. So we would be looking at
Yeah.
9:20.
9:20. Packet.
It's resolution 2017-2018-09, operations of Keno Games in the town of Newmarket.
So we need a motion to reconsider that?
No, you're now voting, if you have debate on you can debate the original resolution now, and then you vote on it, since it was already made a motion and a second the first meeting.
Okay. So, I don't know if there's any, we discussed it at that time, we just have a situation where it was a narrow vote and one counselor has changed their vote. So, that's why we're re-voting, because one counselor changed their mind. So,
I have a question.
Yes.
Aye is to put it on the ballot, nay is to not put it on the ballot.
Correct.
Great.
okay, call the roll. Oops, sorry.
I mean, it's kind of a big vote, so I just. And I commented that night, and I just want to reaffirm the things that I said. And I don't think that Keno to fund education is the right way for Newmarket. I don't think it's right for the state of New Hampshire to ask our towns to take this on. And there was some question about whether or not we should just kind of kick this off to the voters. And while I agree that there are lots of times when I think that we should put things out to a townwide vote, we're elected to make decisions, and so we were elected to decide what we feel is in the best interest of the town. And so I voted nay that evening, and I will vote nay again tonight, because I don't think it's in the best interest of the town. I don't think that it does anything to advance our community. It doesn't help. It doesn't advance our education. And so I just don't think it's beneficial at all. So that's all.
Council Finch?
I do think this is kind of an important topic. Again, I don't like the idea of Keno for funding it, but my understanding of how this is worded is that we vote no on it, the public could still get on the ballot. So in my mind, the suggestion or the implication there is that it is a larger public issue to vote on. So while I personally don't like the Keno funding for education, I think there's a lot of flaws in it. Because of the way the mechanism that's entailed that public could get on the ballot, I don't know if it's on us to prevent that from occurring, because I do think there's a lot of issues with the Keno itself, but I think it's an issue that the public should be able to vote on. Likewise, I'm a little bit nervous about changing votes moving forward. I don't know if that's the best. I mean, I get lots of issues with the bill itself, but I'm not going to change my vote on allowing the public to have a chance at it.
Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to reiterate what Council Finch said, I'm not on position but procedure, that this does not prohibit this going on the ballot. Still, 25 people could come in with a petition and this goes on the ballot. So it's just the council's not putting on the ballot. I just wanted to make that clear.
Councilor Bowden?
I did originally vote for it. I wanted to give the townspeople a chance to vote on it. As soon as left the building here, just didn't feel right about the vote, and sometimes that happens, but I feel strongly enough to bring it up again, take it out, and to vote against putting it on the ballot. I know there's a lot of addiction goes around, different things such as gambling, and I just don't see funding part of education as part of the best interest. So,
Councilor Thompson?
I will second what Councilors Bowden and Weinstein said. Councilor Finch, to what the town administrator said, this doesn't kill it at all. I will agree with Councilor Weinstein. We are here to do a job and to do the best we can to speak. I just don't agree with this in any way, shape, or form. This is not telling the people in town what they can or cannot do. They're welcome to bring a petition if they feel that they want to.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Again, just a reminder, I will place it on the ballot. Nay will not place it on the ballot. Councilor Burns.
Nay.
Councilor Finch.
Aye.
Councilor Thompson.
Nay.
Councilor Cast.
Aye.
Councilor Bowden.
aye.
Councilor Weinstein.
Nay.
Councilor Pike.
Aye.
Motion fails 3 to 4. Not going to ballot.
Okay. So, I see no other comments. At this point, we adjourn in public and.
You need a motion to go non-public session in
Correct.
RSA 91A. It's on. I don't remember the whole thing.
91A32A.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Counselor Burns.
Aye.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Thompson.
Aye.
Counselor Cass. Counselor Bowden.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Counselor Pike.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.